Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Tonight, boy, extra special night tonight. I have our good friend, Dr. Eric Parr, on tonight. He is a CEO, entrepreneur, internationally published research scientist, academic scholar, author, consultant, educator, speaker, world transplant game athlete, and kidney recipient. He actually went to Antarctica not once, but twice. He is the founder and CEO of EricShannonParr.com starting in January 2021 to the present. Kidney-wise, he is a kidney transplant patient, originally diagnosed in 2001 with Iga Nephropathy. He was on dialysis treatments 3 days a week, 6 hours a session for 3 years. He was transplanted in 2017. He has advocated for kidney and organ donation through social media, speaking, and writing platforms. His advocacy has included speaking, advocating, and leadership in DaVita Dialysis for the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs and as a triathlete at the World Transplant Games. While still on dialysis, he trained for triathlons, obtained 10 minutes running, did a 30-mile bike ride, and did 3 hours of continuous swimming. At the same time, he earned his doctorate in education at Lindenwood University in 2017, frequently typing out his dissertation while at the dialysis center. He earned his Master's of Science degree at Evangel University. He honorably served in the Navy for 4 years. He was part of the Navy's elite Antarctic Research, Development, and Support Pioneering Squadron, the Antarctic Development Squadron 6, or capital VXE-6. Dr. Parr assisted in the transport and delivery of Antarctic scientific personnel, equipment, and experiments. He mastered Antarctic Survival School and was inducted into the Old Antarctic Explorer Organization. He developed and implemented squad-wide morale and activity programming. Dr. Parr received multiple medals for his Antarctic service, letters of commendation for inventing system stabilization equipment and for Antarctic aircraft, and letters of appreciation for program development. He broke and set academic records. He was an academic scholar who completed his doctoral studies with a 4. That's a straight A average, folks, 4.0 in only 3 years. Dr. Parr was invited and was inducted as a lifetime member into the Intercollegiate Honors Fraternity Alpha Chi in 2017. He remains an advocate for education and self-improvement. He is an entrepreneur, founder, and CEO of Aesthetico Scientific, a hybrid consulting, research, and speaking company based off of Dr. Parr's innovative scientific research discoveries, applications, and implications, including his theoretically based discovery of the gap between facility management mandates and student requirements of learning and training environments. Dr. Parr combines over 20 years in education, in the education industry, as a school counselor, instructor, administrator, and serviceman with his scientific discoveries to effectively lecture, educate, and assist those associated with the conception, development, and implementation of learning and training environments in any given K-2, K-12, collegiate, business, municipal, religious, professional, sport, university, and scientific entity. He is a multi-gender author of several books since 2000, including his recent book, his memoir, Defying the Lies, an in-depth story about defining by faith and overcoming learning disabilities, childhood emotional and abusive difficulties, learning handicaps, chronic kidney disease, facing death, something about an airplane, Doc, and kidney dialysis, and much, much more. The book's available through Amazon, and we'll be scrolling the link to that throughout this broadcast. He also plans to do a podcast called Defy the Lies. You can connect with Dr. Parr on his website or at his email address or his company phone. That also will be streaming throughout the broadcast. Please give a warm welcome to Dr. Eric Shannon Parr. Doc, how are you?
I'm doing outstanding. Thank you, Jim. Thanks for having me.
Oh, no worries. No worries. Glad you're here.
Who is this
Did I
guy
state everything correctly in the introduction?
Oh, thank you so much. I'm very humbled, really, very humbled.
All right. Please tell us a little bit about where you grew up, your education, and your employment history. Doc, we've already got 5 comments.
That's incredible. Um, yeah, I was born in Baton Rouge Women's Hospital, in Louisiana. So I'm Cajun. I grew up in a very very humble blue collar home. My dad was a very hard worker, so he worked a lot of hours, and often I was recruited to help dad during the weekdays and the weekends, late at night, and weekends 10, 11, midnight, sometimes during the week during school. So I learned to have a very strong work ethic. Um, Later on in life, I always had a knack for entrepreneurship. Dad was a business owner, electrical contractor, did it for about 47 years. And he retired from that and then became a woodworker. But so I grew up in that atmosphere. It was a very challenging atmosphere. It was as a young child, I had a lot of learning disabilities, and I struggled with being able to adapt into a normal social construct. I didn't really have a lot of friends. I was very I was kind of a recluse from my own volition. I really just kind of wanted to stay away from people. But I learned, so I just immersed myself in just worked. And so as I grew and grew older, I ended up barely graduating high school, and I think with a D minus, and from there on, I went to somehow I got into college for a few years. So.
Okay. Let's talk about kidneys. Please tell us when and how you were diagnosed and what your diagnosis was.
So after serving in the Navy for 4 years, from 92 to 96, and I think you mentioned Antarctic Development Squadron 6, Scientific Research Squadron, I went in for a routine blood test to become part of their system, because I got a really bad cold when I was going to Middle Tennessee State University for my bachelor's degree, where I majored in psychology and sociology, gerontological sociology, and speech and theater. And then, but I was like, I'm not going to pay $60 for them to look at me and go, oh yeah, you got a cold. You got to go stay home and rest for a few days, stay in the dorm, whatever. So I ended up going to the Veterans Administration. They took a routine blood test, and come to find out, my creatinine level, creatinine, I can never say that right. Creatinine level was 4.7. And they go, we think something is wrong with you. You need to get a kidney biopsy. Because I was a bodybuilder when in my 20s, from the time I was like 14. So I was a very healthy young man. Always made sure I was doing what I had to do to stay, because my father was a Golden Gloves boxer in the Air Force. So I kind of grew up around all that. My brother was a state champion in gymnastics. So long story short, I got the blood test done, and I had the kidney biopsy done, and it showed I only had 65% left of both kidneys, combined. And they go, well, Eric, we want to tell you that you have immunoglobulin A, or IgA nephropathy. And it had to do with a certain part of your kidney that scars up the filtering processes the little filters in your kidneys, the glomerulus and different things scar up to the point where they can't filter your blood, and over time they just shut down. And they go, well, we're going to give you 3 years. And they said 3 to 5 years. And I said, well, I tell you what, my God, because I'm a man of faith, I said, my God's going to let me have as much time as I need until I need to do what he wants me to do. And so they kind of went, okay, all right, go home. We're going to let you think that. I could see it in their eyes, what they were thinking. And so 12 years later, my kidneys finally quit, and I was put on kidney dialysis. So.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And when were you placed on dialysis?
I woke up January 14th, 2014, and my kidneys had finally quit. I was sweating. I didn't know what was going on. I was itching. I was in really, really bad shape. So I actually lasted 9 years longer than what the doctors thought. So that morning, I drove myself. Somehow, I drove myself. A friend of mine, she got on the phone with me. She says she helped me get dressed verbally, find your wallet, find your keys. I didn't know what I was doing. I was completely out of it. My mind was very. It's like I couldn't remember my name, and literally. And so I got into the car somehow, and I don't remember driving there. But I got to the hospital. I walked into the front door, and they said, the attending nurse looked at me. She says, "Get on a gurney right now." So this guy rushed up behind me. They said I looked gray and green, and they took me to the back in my own room, took a blood test, and I only had 7 liters a minute pumping through my kidneys, getting.
Ooh.
So my blood was slush. It was so full of, because my body wasn't able no longer to clean out the impurities and the waste and everything. My blood just built up all this trash in it. And so the normal body, and as you know, Jim, does about 80 liters, 70 to 80 liters a minute. It's like 1 liter bottle of Coke, 80 of those of blood. So it's constantly being cleaned with those 2 little organs in your body. Well, they still didn't know how I was staying alive. And so they rushed me into the emergency room, put an emergency catheter through the right side of my neck, my jugular, across my chest. Catheter was about 14 inches long, down, up and around, and into the top of my heart. And so they dialyzed my blood, got me more or less stabilized, and then they sent me to Columbia Medical Center in Missouri. Columbia, Harry S. Truman Veterans Memorial Hospital in Columbia, Missouri. Okay. And then from then on, I started kidney dialysis.
Okay. A couple of questions have come up from my friend Kent Bressler. He's asking how you managed to stay immunosuppressed while you were in the Arctic. I'm kind of taking this out of order so people understand.
Oh, I see.
At the time you were in the Arctic, your kidneys hadn't failed yet, correct?
Correct. I was in. So let me backtrack just a little. I might have skipped a few facts there. So, and I apologize for that. So I went into the Navy after a 1.5 years of not wanting to. I was like, college isn't for me. I'm sucking at it. I can't pass anything. Psychology looks like a pretty cool subject, but maybe we'll come back to it later. So I said, screw this. I went into the Navy in 1992, February 3rd, 1992. And that's when I went and got trained to survive in the middle of Antarctica from 92 to 96. And during that time, I wasn't sick. I was actually really, really in shape. I was a natural bodybuilder, obviously, because if they had tested me, they'd have said, you're out of the Navy, if I had any drugs in my system. So anyway, so I was really healthy. I had never had any comorbidity, which means I didn't have ever had any asthma, never had any heart issues, no diabetes, nothing like that. So I was in great shape, being a bit redundant. So when I got out of the military and I went back to school, realizing that I, was taking it a bit more seriously, and I had overcome some learning issues in the Navy. In fact, becoming an academic in the Navy and advancing 2 pay grades before I even graduated boot camp, and set up school records and such, and blah 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 in training. And so I learned that, hey, I can actually do this. I just had to push myself and I had to choose to succeed. So a little fast forward, went back to school, and then at MTSU, after I got my associate's degree at Volunteer State Community College and graduated in 2003 from there. So 96, I got out of the military. And then in 2003, I went back to school and got my associate's degree and then my bachelor's degree in psychology and sociology. And while I was taking my psychology degree, that's when I went to the doctor and got a blood test. And then they said, hey, something's wrong with your kidneys, man. You got to have a biopsy. So just to clarify. Okay. Sorry about that.
Friend of the show, Elizabeth Oldham, is asking, during that period of time between the time you were diagnosed and the time that you started dialysis, did you ever change your diet?
I'm sorry, say that again, the last part of that
Be,
question.
between the time that you were diagnosed and the time that you went on dialysis, did you make any changes to your diet?
Not really. Not really, no. When I was full-fledged on dialysis, I did change my diet quite a bit because of dialysis, because of fear of retaining fluid and such. But I was pretty, so it's more of a force thing. They said, if you don't do this, then this is going to happen. You're going to have issues with your blood getting cleaned and so on and so forth. But no, I never did.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you were placed on dialysis, were you placed on in-center dialysis or were you doing home dialysis?
So there are a few different types there's at-home hemodialysis where you use the needles. There's peritoneal dialysis where they put they tap into the peritoneal cavity around your stomach area, the lower area, and they pump fluid into it. So there are a few different options I had. Because everything was available in the unit where I was, I decided to do it in the unit. I decided to do it at Kidney in Springfield, Missouri at the DeVita Dialysis, which was about 15 minutes from where I lived, thankfully. So, yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
How long were you on dialysis?
I was on dialysis for just about 3 years to the day. Yeah, before I got my transplant.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Did you have any challenges or complications while you were on dialysis?
I had the largest challenge that I had was getting my mind set, getting my mind ready for this to attack and destroy the difficulties that came with this. But I want to say that it wasn't an immediate thing. It took a few months for me to I'll backtrack. So the first time I went into dialysis, I sat down and I just lost it the first day. I was like, everything that I had, my career, my school counseling degree, everything that I worked hard for, getting my graduate degree after my bachelor's degree in school, K-12 school counseling, it all just flashed before my eyes, and I thought, I'm not going to ever be able to be who I was or do what I was or ever achieve what I want to achieve, after overcoming so many obstacles. Now this. And then I thought, well, why can't I take this obstacle and create opportunity out of it? And so I had to take my mind and change my mind in a way that worked for me and not against me. So what I started doing was not ignoring the horrible headaches or passing out a few times or getting a needle, an embolism in my muscle in my left fistula, where sometimes they'll stick a needle through the vein into the muscle of the skin on the side of it, so it swells up. It's extremely painful, as Jim may know.
They infiltrated.
Infiltrated, yeah, something I was just not want to remember, but I do remember like it was yesterday. So even in that, I had to force my mind. That was the hardest thing for me to do. But once I did it, it took about four months. I was able to overcome despite. Now, I'm not going to say that I was superhuman, that I was immune, because I am the last person to say that I can just do everything. Everything that I've ever had to accomplish in my life, I chose to do it. And with the gifts and abilities that I had, I chose to overcome. And this was just one of those things in my life, just another one of those things. And so what I started to do to get my mind off of me, boohoo pity party, is I started going on social media. And I started sharing my journey and saying, yeah, this sucked today. I passed out. I have headaches about to explode. I'm so lethargic. I can't think straight. I feel like throwing up. There's a lot of side effects that I had. But in spite of those, I started to also talk to other people. Even developed good friendships in the dialysis center. And that really got me to be an advocate for those guys. And I would be running on the track, and even right after dialysis. So, and helping others realize they could do it too. So.
Okay. When and where did you receive a kidney transplant? I have the year 2017. Am I correct?
Yes. It was January, February 27th, 2017 at 1:15 in the morning. I remember the day they told me it was just about 3 years to the day. Yeah. So
Okay. And what transplant center was that?
that was Iowa City, Iowa, Transplant Center. And because
Okay.
and the VA network, I was able to go there and get it done.
Was it a live donor, a deceased donor?
So my donor, the woman that I was dating at the time, had just met someone met one of her colleagues. They were all resetting their business area of that company. And she had coincidentally met someone and they became friends. Hey, let's hang out, let's be besties. And her son tragically took his life. And so I have permission to talk about this, and it's been several years. So it's been
Okay.
5 years. And so I'll say that they rushed him on life support. And then within like 2 days, I was on the operating table. So it was technically a living kidney. It was a very special and miraculous situation that he was O negative. And so not only do you have to be O negative, but if you're the same blood type, you have to be a specific tissue type as well. And I was 99.9% match from this young man. And thankfully, because his mother co-signed for him because he wanted to be an organ donor, I was able to receive my gift of life. So.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but I just wanted to mention to the crowd
Sure.
that the year that you were transplanted, that's also the same year you received your doctorate, correct?
Yes, it is. So while I was on kidney dialysis, I worked on my doctorate, and then I received it. I did my doctorate in 3 years, and I received my transplant January, and I became Dr. Parr August 2017. So.
Okay. Have you had any kidney challenges, health challenges since the time of the transplant?
Thank God, no, I have not. I've been really, really blessed. I've done what I needed to do, but I haven't had any side effects. I haven't had any. In fact, my creatinine level, has been, right now, it was like 1.4, 1.2. It was 1. And now it is 0.09 something, which is more normal than a person that has 2 healthy kidneys. I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. I tell you right now, I don't like. Am I on camera? What's going on here?
Oh, that's excellent. That's excellent. I wish I could report the same. Tell us about your kidney advocacy work with DaVita Dialysis and the vets. What went on with all that?
So while I was on dialysis, I started to, like I said, screw it, I'm not going to think about myself. I'm going to help others. So I started to, I did it in several ways. The first way was I got on social media and I created an account prior to getting a kidney transplant called Kidney Quest, catching it. And so I had a Twitter account and other social media, and I would share my day-to-day going-ons and my struggles and how I overcame certain things. And then I found that the more I did it, the more people felt encouraged and motivated. And so I became an advocate for helping others to face, embrace, and recreate what they were going through as far as kidneys or anything in life, because no matter what it is, we're all dealing with a bunch of crap, stuff. So I did it through social media, and I also did it through exercise programs. I would have people walk with me or swim. I ended up joining the Ozark, Missouri swim team and the triathlon team, I told them up front, hey guys, I am a kidney dialysis patient, but I'm telling everyone that I see that it's not about that. It's about overcoming what you have despite the difficulties. So I was a walking billboard for overcoming all your obstacles, right? So I would get off of work Well, off of work. Felt like work. Get off of kidney dialysis, which is basically like a part-time job 3 days a week, 6 hours, up to 6 hours at a time for, 3 years. Yeah, it was crazy. And I'd go swim, and I got up to, I think, you make 10-minute run, 10-minute runs. It was actually a 10-mile run. I got up to about 10 miles, swimming 3 hours at a time, and riding my bike about 30 miles at a time, 3 days a week. Right immediately after dialysis, head banging, I just felt like junk, but I did it. And I wanted to, because I knew that when I did that, I'd be helping. What I did was becoming exponentially more important than the bad headache. So,
Okay. One of our guests, Eddie and Gail, are asking, how do you swim when they're telling you not to get wet during dialysis? I'm taking that you were on a fistula then and you had the catheter removed.
Yeah, I had a fistula. Good question. Very good question. 7 months after I had the emergency catheter in my chest, they removed it, and they put a fistula in my left forearm, and where they tied the side vein to the main artery in my wrist, and then that's how I was able to do it. And so I would wait like an hour, maybe, until it the bleeding had fully stopped or whatever, and then I would just jump into the pool and do it. No one told me I couldn't, and I told my doctor, and he goes, "Hey man, if it's working for you," my nephrologist at the dialysis center, he says, "if it's working for you and you don't get any infections, just make sure you wash very well, and etc. You can do it." And so I did it, and I never got any infections. I was able to do it. So, yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. I said, "Hey, man, you know what? I'm going to do it until my body literally tells me you can't." But I never listened to it, really. So that's why I say, shh, don't remind me that my body told me not to do it.
Right, and you were a triathlete at the World Transplant Games, correct?
Yeah, well, I was going to attend that one. That was the first time I found out about it when I joined Ozark. And I'm going to be doing the one next year. And so the last few years I wasn't able to do it because whether it was this time it was a shoulder injury for this year, because I got injured last December, and so I wasn't able to do the one this year. But yeah, I've been training. I've been a triathlete for several years, and yeah, it's. So
next year.
Next year will be in Perth, Australia.
All right.
Man, I'm gonna rock it. I'm gonna do the triathlon there. Yeah, running, biking, and swimming, and they have a separate swimming event. So, and I believe you can do it virtually, so people who can't travel there can actually do it in their home and then just submit the results, or at their center in the pool. So, one thing that I can't do is swim in rivers and ocean. I can swim in oceans and where there's salt water, but I can't be like in streams. Like I'm not this kind of person who's not going to listen to the experts or my doctor, but I will say that I will push the envelope. And since they said I could swim in the pool, I lived in that pool, and I swam. I would just swim until I could move my arms or breathe or whatever. So, yeah. So I still had to be careful. I still have to be careful because I'm immunosuppressed right now. But yeah.
Okay. And just for the record, you were never on PD, correct? Never on peritoneal dialysis?
No, I never even chose it. I said, hey, I just want to do straight hemodialysis, where they put the 2-inch needles into your vein. Yeah, and that's what I did. Never
better
tried.
Supervision that way at that point in time, I think.
What was that?
I said it would be better supervision in center at that time.
Yes.
Than you get at home.
Absolutely.
Let's drill down a little bit about some details about your education.
Sure.
It's my understanding that you received your doctorate at Lindenwood University between 2013 and 2017, but there was a period where there was an interruption because of the end-stage renal disease, correct?
Correct. So.
All right. So what field? I'm sorry. Go ahead, doctor. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
What field was your doctorate in?
my field is in education. I'm an educational doctor, and my doctorate is in instructional leadership, higher education administration, with emphasis in higher education administration. And I did my, and so what that means is I could be a professor, administrator, president, vice president of universities, you know, at the terminal level of education.
Yeah.
I did my doctorate dissertation on, it's called qualitative research investigating facility management's, and I'll explain this, facility managers' perspectives of classroom learning environments. So when I was a school counselor and I instructed special needs autistic kids, which is my favorite population in the world, I love autistic kids. I would look around and I would see their environments and how they were reacting and how they were responding to specific stimuli, aesthetic stimuli. And their aesthetics includes chairs, tables, what they touch, taste, feel, hear, and smell within the learning environment. So I did some more research on that, and I found that it actually it causes a lot of issues with beyond the curriculum or the teachers or how bad, you know, the smells are or whatever. What a person is in or what the students were in actually caused them issues. So I did research and found out that by altering or changing a learning environment through specific parameters named in my research, for example, fluorescent lighting was introduced in the 1950s. Without going off on a tangent, I'll stick to what we're kind of talking about here, but it can actually decrease cortisol levels, which in turn increases the potential for depression. So, and they're still using fluorescent lights. So I did my research even now. They're starting to turn LED lighting, but so I did my research on that and how administration plays a part in that and aesthetics from like the 1400s to the present and so on and so forth. So that was actually phenomenal. I'm a nerd in disguise. I love learning. I'm a sponge. Once I realized I could actually learn and the, I never stopped. So
okay. Yeah. I want to make clear to the folks that absent the interruption that you had when you were first diagnosed with end-stage renal disease, you finished a 4-year program in 3 years with a 4.0 straight A average. Am I saying that correctly?
Did you say straight A? Straight A?
Yeah.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm just kidding. So 2013 to 2014, January, I started my program, kidneys quit. And for a year and a half, I stopped. I said, I just can't do this right now. I'm done. So I gave it all up and I said, God, I'm done with this. I don't know what you want to do with my life here, but I'll just wait until you tell me to do it. And so I lost the desire to pursue my doctorate. So end of July, 1st of August, 2015, I went back and I finished my doctorate in the dialysis chair, writing a lot of my dissertation in the dialysis chair. It's just the paper part of my research, the 160-page paper, with a 4.0. And I look back and I go, I was either insane or blessed or maybe both. So I really don't know how I did it, because there are things now that I try to balance. I'm like, it's just a whole different, time in my life. So yeah, 4.0, and I was inducted into the intercollegiate fraternity Alpha Chi, which is a collegiate fraternity for life. So that was an honor, very humbled. And I joke a lot about my accomplishments, and I just want people to not see what I've done specifically, but see the potential in themselves of what they can do. And so I really try to help others, say, hey, I've done it, I can do it. Let's tap into your gifts and your talents. And so that's another way that I advocate for academics and pushing beyond the norm and achieving your best and so on and so forth.
Okay. Let's talk about your military service in the Navy. You were with the Antarctic Development Squadron 6. Can you tell us what you were doing there, what your activities were?
Certainly. So after I finished training in 1992, I went to Antarctic Development Squadron 6, and the lady, my petty officer first class, parachute rigger, which is what we were called. I worked on extreme cold weather survival gear and prototype gear. She says, "I heard you're the hot shot out of A school who broke all those records. You and your," and I said, "No, I don't know about that, but I'm really excited to be a part of VXE6 or Pucker Penguins or Ice Pirates." There's several nicknames that we gave ourselves. So we went to Antarctica, and in an LC-130 aircraft, which was scientifically equipped with classified equipment and skis, which would land on land glaciers, which are land-based icebergs. And the day that I sat down on the iceberg and, on the glacier and got out of the plane, it was 30 below, 35 below zero. And the second you took a breath, it felt like a cold break just smacked you right in the face. And I thought, oh yeah, what have I got myself into now? And the very next morning, I was shipped out 4 miles outside of McMurdo Station, Antarctica, which was the Antarctic Development Scientific Research Base. And we were there to survive or die. So I learned a lot of equipment, setting up, tearing down survival gear, making snow and ice survival homes and houses. And we all did it as a team. From the lieutenant down to the enlisted guy, such as was myself, we learned to work as a team regardless of our rank or whatever, because we were there to survive. And like I said, it was basically survive or die. And so I became a graduate of Happy Camper School, which they called it. Learned the nomenclature of radios. I learned how to jump and identify crevasses, which basically means I just had shoulder surgery a couple weeks ago, so I forgot I can't raise the shoulder. Sorry. But you basically have a crack in the ice, looks like a hairline crack, but right below it on each side can go like a bowl, and it can be 300 to 500 feet down, and there's jagged stuff in the bottom. So a few times there's jagged rocks and whatever. It's things at the bottom. And so I actually took a picture of this guy that was about to step on one, and I took him in mid jump when he was clearing it, because if he wouldn't have cleared this ice, we'd have all been sucked down at this hole. So it was amazing. I got to drive during those 4 years in the Navy. I went from Antarctica to New Zealand every other year, and I was able to learn a heck of a lot about extreme cold weather prototype gear that I packed on the LC-130 aircraft and for the scientists. And another one of our jobs that we had to do was fly the scientists all over Antarctica to conduct their scientific research. And we would drop them off in their gear, and then we'd pick them up. And we were the main squadron for that. And so I got out in 1996.
Talk to us a little bit about Antarctic Survivor School and being introduced into the old Antarctic explorers. You received medals, you received letters of commendation. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Certainly. So during Antarctic Survival School, like I said, we had to learn how to adapt and overcome by building ice shelters. We had to protect us from Herbies. Now, Herbies were these storms that would show 100+ mile an hour winds that would just show up out of the Antarctic Valley, Mountain Valley Range, southwest. I can't remember exactly, but it was about 15 miles away where you could see it. It was so wide and so clear, sometimes you could see more than 10 miles. And these Herbies would create these wind chill factors of 150 below zero. And so we had to learn how to adapt and overcome these Herbies, especially so much so that our mechanics had to learn how to literally strap onto the side of the LC-130 aircraft while they were working on the engines to keep them flying away down into the mountain range while they were working on these things. I received letters of commendation for designing and creating a helicopter let's see, how can I say it in layman's terms? A blade cap. So the Commander Kehoe of Antarctic Development Squadron 6 told me to invent a way to keep our helicopters from flipping over during the extreme weather that we would have often in Antarctica. So I invented these helo blade boots that, for doing that, that would cup the ends of the blades and pull them down and strap them down to the ice and the gravel. I received a letter of commendation. I also created programs, squadron ride programming. I grew up singing with my mom and my grandmother, and so I would sing in church, and I did some other programs, Christmas specials and such that I was a part of, and I received letters of appreciation, commendations, and for my service in Antarctica, multiple years, I received an Arctic Service Medal. Three times, and also National Defense Service ribbon, which is, if anyone's in the military listening, that's a candy ribbon because everybody gets a National Defense Service ribbon. But medal I got, I also received a letter of commendation for 100% mission completion, where we would take the scientists and come back without any injuries. I will say that there was some pretty difficult times, and I'm not sure if you're going to ask me about this. I might be jumping ahead of you, but I had to help bury 3 people in Antarctica. We had a helicopter that went down on the side of a fully active, most remote volcano in the world called Mount Erebus. Now, Mount Erebus is about 18,500 feet, and when this helicopter was trying to bring, they would go up into the air and drop. They dropped a robotic spider. I think I can talk about this now. It's been several years, it's been 27 years, and it broke. So they're like, okay, what we're going to do now? We'll just leave it. And then when they were coming back down, they somehow, with wind shear, hit the helicopter, and caused it to smack the side of the volcano. And 3 of our guys ended up passing away. We had a full flag. We had a full, so I helped pack them in ice. I helped with taking care of the bodies and such. So, and then we also had a couple of the crashes. So it is a very, very, very violent, unforgiving, life-impacting experience that I had that I will never forget, but it caused me to grow stronger and appreciative and in thought and values as well. So very, very incredible experience.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about your current venture, Aesthetico Scientific. Tell us a little bit about that. What do you do through that company?
So I started my Aesthetico Scientific. So aesthetico is derived from the root word, a Latin word, aesthetics comes from aesthetica, which is Latin for all that is beauty in the environment. And scientific is self-explanatory, it's science, scientific. So I used, based off of my scientific research from my doctoral dissertation and my experiential and observational research that I did over the years, I decided to create a company to tweak learning environments by addressing specific elements of a learning environment and everyone that is directly and indirectly connected to them, where it's whether it's administration or teachers, instructors, students specifically. And I said, how can I do that? How can I further the cause of this? So I came up with this company idea, and it's really a consulting firm. When I was younger and I had a company, I was a general contractor, and I had another company called Parr's Painting or Parr's Home Improvements, where I would go and improve homes. I'd actually create learning environments as well. So that was kind of a foreshadowing, not knowing I was going to end up doing research decades later on this type of thing. So that's what I what I wanted to do, and that's what I do. And I work with corporations and businesses, people like facility managers that are connected with the NFL, major corporations, and many different types of entities to help tweak and help motivate their students in training and learning environments, which can be, so when someone thinks about education or an educator, it's not just K-12 or secondary or higher education universities. It's actually people that are in the military, which is who I talk to, NASA, anywhere from anyone that owns or runs or helps improve it, from a chicken coop to to a NASA training facility. So I wanted to do that. I thought it was exciting that I could actually kind of have a little project there. So what started out as just an abstract idea of thinking back to what I used to do as a contractor, I ended up doing it from a scientific. So I blend the experience, I blend the I blend my contractual experience with my scientific experience, and that created aesthetico-scientific.
Okay. A couple of shout outs, Doc. Reed Chappell and Audrey Bella Langston are saying hello. And
Hello.
Audrey and our friends Eddie and Gail are thanking you for your service to our country.
My honor, Eddie and Gail. Thank you. It's my honor. I do it all over again. Yep, absolutely. That means a lot. Thank you so much.
Let's talk a little bit about your writing. You've written several books, including your recent memoir, Defying the Lies. Can you tell us a little bit about your book?
Excuse me. Sure. I love to write. I've been accused of being a master, jack of all trades, master of none. I like to think that I am pretty good at a few things. So regardless, but I love to write. Even as a little bitty child, I would sit in my room and write little poems and books, and never thought anything would come of it. But it was my way to escape some verbally abusive background and things that I struggled with. But I learned that I was able to write, write and get my ideas and thoughts out. So it was very therapeutic. So I wrote this book called Defying the Lies. The Lord, God had been speaking to me, and I believe God speaks to me. He speaks to all of us, I believe, in different ways. And so God just been kind, that's what I believe. And so was kind of talking to me about these things and saying, Eric, you should write a book about this. You should. And it was confirmed through friends saying, Eric, you should write a book about what you've gone through, what you've been through, how you've overcome it, and so on and so forth. And I said, oh, yeah, that's great. I mean, I think that's a great idea, guys. I think that, no, you're amazing. You're amazing. Oh, I want you to know that you are amazing. We're all amazing. We just have to realize it and move in that. And so, but thank you. That's very flattering. So I realized that what kind of title was I going to do? Well, what was I going to come up with? So I was sitting down and actually started writing the book, having the idea to start writing the book during the COVID, the initial in 2020. And in 2020, it finally came into my head. I finally gave into it. I said, okay, fine. I'm not doing anything right now. I can't go speak. I can't go and talk with people face to face like I used to love to do. Much less with a mask on your face when people can't see the reactions. I can't see I don't know who they are. So even from, on a stage, it was very difficult. But this is during the lockdown. And so I said, why don't I start writing the book? And everybody was like, yay, finally, you're going to write the book. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Okay. And then I initially waited another like 2 or 3 months before I started. Maybe that was my, just that strong will I have. So anyway, I started writing in March of 2020. And I finished it in November 2020. And I wrote about about defying the lies of emotional abuse, defying the lies of learning issues, defying the lies of, as I got older, kidney issues and being on dialysis, and those lies were pain and mistrust and hopelessness. And that's what I call lies. And when you start defying those lies and realizing those lies are not who you really are and what are you actually capable of doing. So I realized that once I start, as the more I wrote, the more I realized that, hey, I was doing exactly what I was writing about, and it was very cathartic for me. It was very therapeutic. And if anyone's ever written a memoir, so this was a memoir about overcoming these things, it's very, very eye-opening, very spirit revealing. Actually was able to overcome some things within myself that I had no idea that I was still inside. And finished it, published it on Amazon, November. And I had a revision, and in January, between November and January, I wrote 2 more short books, prose poetry books. One is called The Collection, Part 2, and another one is called Real the World and Other Works. And so, yeah. Amen. Praise the Lord. We're going to have church right now up in this place. But yeah, they wrote those 2 books. And I realized that during my time of writing those books, one of them I had actually written the excerpt and the summary years and years ago. When I got out of the Navy, the collection Part 2 was actually written back in '97. And then I realized, I just realized that I say realize way too often. So if anybody wants to post that, that's fine. I say it way too much. I got to work on that.
Well, just for the record, too, on your website, you also write blogs. You've also written scientific articles that I managed to find. Mm-hmm. So, when you say you're a writer, you're not kidding around. You do write quite often.
I love writing. Besides my daughter, who I love unconditionally, immeasurably, forever, writing is probably my second favorite thing. So, yeah.
Eddie and Gail are asking if you've ever written anything, books or otherwise, about child kidney disease.
I do know that from a scientific research point of view, children's kidney disease can present. No, I have not written anything about children's kidney disease, but that is definitely, actually, I'm going to write that down right now. Children's kidney disease, and do some research on that and see what I can come up with. That is a fantastic idea. Thank you very much, Eddie and Gail.
Pediatric kidney patients is a rising topic, my friend.
I've heard about that. Mm-hmm.
More and more all the time. I wanted to point out to the audience the things that Doctor has written, his book, Defying the Lies, the links to the Amazon where you can purchase the book are flowing across the screen in this broadcast. They're also in the comments on my Facebook page to this broadcast. They'll also be in the comments to the replay for people that have missed the broadcast, as well as his website, his email, his company phone number. All of those things are there. So don't worry, your Uncle Jim's got your back. So you can find Dr. Parr if you need to find him. Tell us a little bit about if someone wanted to contact you, where they can reach you, Doctor.
Absolutely. So you can reach me on my company phone at 417-402-6407. It's also on my website at ericshannonparr.com, which is being streamed across the bottom of the screen, as Uncle Jim said. And also I'm always posting on Twitter. I'm on Twitter, and I am on LinkedIn. So if you just look my name up, Dr. Eric Shannon Parr, so that's Dr. Eric Shannon Parr, EDD, on Twitter and LinkedIn, I'm there. And I post a bunch of things there and events. I'm moving a lot of my informational resources to my website now, and I'm adding more podcast things. And I'm going to be starting a podcast soon called Defying the Lies, Uncle Jim mentioned earlier. So you can reach me there, and you can find out all the events, the speaking events. You can find out where I'll be next, and where I'm going to be teaching or lecturing or talking about all the things that I've been very humbly grateful to experience and share to others. So,
Okay.
Mhm.
Is there anything else that you would like to discuss before we close the conversation for the evening, Dr. Parr?
Sure. I want to say, first of all, before I just want to read something here. Thank you for everyone. Oh, I do want to say, go to Amazon. You can go to Amazon and look at my name, Eric Shannon Parr, Dr. Eric Shannon Parr. Defying the Lies. It's really easy to find, as well as all my other books.
Link is scrolling across the page as we speak, Doctor.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. And all the links and everything connected to my business, Aesthetical Scientific, is also on my website, ericshannonparr.com, ericshannonparr.com. I just want to say this in the last few minutes that we have is that, first of all, I want to thank you, Uncle Jim, for allowing me the honor and the pleasure of coming on here. I don't take, since what I've been through, I don't take any opportunity for granted. And I don't think anyone else, regardless of what's going on in this world today, we're always going to have things and we're always going to have issues and situations that are going to be happening. But we have to decide and you have to decide, what are you going to do when the trials come? What are you going to do when it's tough, when it sucks to go outside, when it sucks to get up, when you're in a lot of pain, when someone doesn't like you, when your boyfriend or girlfriend breaks up with you and you think it's the end of the world? What are you going to do? Are you going to sit there and mope around on your couch? Are you going to get out there and do something that's beyond yourself, that shows other people that they can do it too? And so that is what I want to leave with everybody today, that all these things that I've done, all these things that I've accomplished pales in comparison to how much, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, I learned this from my late mother, Diane Parr. It all boils down to other people and helping others achieve everything that they ever imagined. So I think that's about all I have. And I'm looking forward to seeing other people and connecting with people through here and in the future. So.
Well, our friend Audrey Bella Langston is telling us that she's a retired Chicago police officer, 17 years kidney transplant recipient. Wow. And so she's identifying with some of your experiences. And Audrey, why aren't you on my broadcast? We have to get together. You've got this kind of story. I want to share it.
Aubrey, you bet. I want to see it. I want to see it.
Our friends Eddie and Gail are saying that they love the idea that you're going to do some writing about pediatric kidney disease. And yes. Audrey wants to check out the book and the podcast. So I think you made a couple of fans tonight.
You know, I'm just humbled. I'm excited. We're all in this together, and it means a lot to me that you would say that. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, that concludes our broadcast. We just wanted to plug our sponsor, Kidney Solutions. Please share and comment on the broadcast. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching. Check us out on Friday night. George Franklin's going to be on with us on Friday night. He's a member of the Quarter Century Club. Get this, Doc. This guy had a kidney transplant like 49 years ago.
What? Wait, 49
years? Yeah, 49 years ago or so. So, yeah, we're going to have him on, and I want to ask him how he's doing that.
I'm telling you, I want to eat what he's eating. That's crazy. God.
All right. So, have a good night, everybody. Thank you for watching. Okay, Doc, I'm going to end the broadcast.
Sounds great, man. That was awesome. What an experience.
Have a good night, my friend.
Thank you, sir. We'll see you around.
See you around.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.